first I want to get started with a little bit of our logistics. We are actually going to conduct this panel with questions because really what I want to know is what you want to know. So as we go through this, as you have questions, students, just drop them in the chat to everyone, and then I'll call them out as we go along. At the end of the session, students, we actually have door prizes. Some of these employers have actually offered things that you might find if you were at a real in-person career fair. And so if you'll hold on through the end, Hannah Ross, who is our student support today, will run a wheel of names, and we'll get you folks selected for door prizes. And then we'll want you to actually give us your mailing address in the chat. So everybody hang around until the end. Students, do you have any questions before we begin? All right, then let's do it. We will go right up until 3:15, and then we'll do our wheel of words so that we can pick our prizes. Let's start. Let me start with Ashley. Ashley, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you work, and positions you might have.
Okay. I'm Ashley Scarborough. I am with EPES Transport. We are a trucking company based out of Greensboro, North Carolina. I am the talent acquisition manager. I have been with the company for almost 3 years now. We have several positions. I think the biggest one for us right now is the career path program position. It is actually posted in Handshake, and if you guys have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out. This position is for upcoming graduates, whether it be those that are going to graduate in May or those that are going to graduate in December. And it's a 12-week program where they actually sit with everyone in the company. When you sit with everyone in the company, you get experience not only in the trucking world and the trucking industry, but you also kind of understand how we as a company work too. You sit with accounting, you sit with sales, you sit with pricing, HR specifically as well. Once that 12-week program is up, you actually get to choose your career from there. We have positions that are open. We have been known to add positions in the past and create positions that we've never had based on the company need. And so students after the 12-week program, after they get the experience, get to kind of choose where they want to go in their career. You ask that you stay in Greensboro for a little bit of time just because you're getting exposure to the entire company, because a lot of our employees do work out of our Greensboro terminal. But after that, we have 8 locations, including Greensboro, and you are more than welcome to apply at any point in time to any other position once you've completed that career path program and moved into your permanent role.
Excellent. Wow, you guys have expanded a lot since last I found out what you're
Yes.
doing. That sounds like fun. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's move to Lauren. Lauren, can you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
I can. Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for being here. I'm excited. I love doing these things because at Haynes, we have such a good relationship with app, and we've recently hired a lot of really great students straight from school. I hired somebody at the last career fair who's now a management trainee with us, and she's outstanding. And so I always get excited when I get asked to do these things because I think it's a really good opportunity. I know it's a little different virtually, but I think that there's still some value to it. And so the time that you guys took, I think, is a huge step. So thank you. About me, my name is Lauren McMahan. I'm the Human Resources Manager here at Haynes Companies. Not to be confused with Haynes Brands, like the underwear, Michael Jordan. We are Haynes Companies, and we do textiles in the construction, furniture, bedding, automotive industries. So it's not as sexy and fun as like Fruit of the Loom, but it's used in probably all of your houses right now, in your mattress. It's probably in your seat that you're sitting in. There's a textile component to maybe the seat that you're in right now. And that's what we do. That's what we provide. So we've been very busy. We've expanded into new markets recently. Textiles are used in PPE, as you all are well aware, with your masks, right? That's huge. At Haynes, we like to think of ourselves like nomads. We move to where an opportunity is with textiles. So we've recently gotten into medical, which is awesome. And with that growth and expansion, we're currently hiring in sales in most of our markets. So anyone sales oriented, you can always reach out to me. Management trainees for more of our corporate positions, they kind of go through the gauntlet as far as purchasing. So supply chain eccentric folks tend to really enjoy that inventory control stuff. And then we're hiring project managers who tend to work with estimators and engineers on our construction textile side of our business. So that one is a little bit more difficult because it requires a little bit more of experience with AutoCAD and blueprint drawings. But sharing is caring. If you know of anybody who is interested in that, send them my way. And I've been with Haynes for 8 years. I've been in human resources for 4 of them. I was in sales and operations for the other 4 to 5 years. My other life, I like to call it, was branch life. So I have the perspective of our corporate office, etiquette, talk about, the business etiquette side and then, at the branch, what that's like, interfacing with the customers, because that can be a little different, right? I love what I do and I enjoy it. And I look forward to answering any questions you have. And this is the opportunity to do so. So I welcome anything you have to say. I'm excited.
Thank you. Thank you. And now Amy from Enterprise, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your background, what you're looking for?
Yes, absolutely. Welcome, everyone. It is so great to see all of you today. My name is Amy Casari, and I'm the Talent Acquisition Manager with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Enterprise Holdings. And so I have been in the talent acquisition role for about 2 years in the HR umbrella role since 2014. And then all in all, I've been with Enterprise. I celebrated my 10-year anniversary with the company last week. So I blinked and it's been 10 years of my life. And I just cannot believe that that I have been able to grow such so professionally and personally with this company. It's just really provided me with so many amazing things that I never thought that I would have been able to achieve. So, so at Enterprise, we're the #1 leader in the transportation industry when it comes to the rental car industry. And we're all over. We're all over the United States. We're all over North Carolina. We're all over the world. And we are owned privately by the Taylor family. And back in 1957, Jack Taylor decided to start up a rental car company. Wanted to make sure that transportation was available for people that were putting their cars, in the shop or whatever the case may be. So, you think about rental cars, right? It's not the most glamorous thing, but I know I didn't go to college to rent cars. That's not what my intention was. So I like to think of it as, I'm in the people business because I get the opportunity to meet customers. I get the opportunity to talk to people every day and really help them with what their needs are. So we currently hire for our management trainee position. That is our entry-level role, and that's the only position that we hire for externally because we have an amazing promote from within company culture. So it's the wonderful thing about Enterprise is that anybody that is in the branch manager role or the regional vice president role, or even in a talent acquisition role like myself, we've all been there and we've all been in the branches helping customers and understanding the business. And I think that's what's really cool about being a management trainee is that you learn about the business, you learn about the nuts and bolts of how to operate a successful business, and based on your performance, not your seniority, you're able to grow and get promoted and move up within our company.
Sounds great. Wow. Makes me want to go back to the beginning and start all over again, you guys. There's so many great opportunities out there. And I love that whole exposure to all areas of the company. It's a great way to start. So students, we're talking today about business etiquette, and that can start from the moment that you're interacting with employers when you're still a student, right through to 10 years into your career where you still, unfortunately, will be learning things that will take you by surprise. So our employers are here today to answer the questions that are on your mind now. I'm going to get us started with some questions, but throw anything you want to know about into that chat and we'll get them to answer those questions. The first thing I'm going to start with, and I'm going to ask each of you to answer this for me. So I'll do the same order, Ashley, Lauren, Amy. The question is, what is something that immediately comes to mind that you wish you had known about professional etiquette when you first became exposed to the business world? And funny stories are fine. We all have them. Ashley, can I start with you and put you on the spot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing for me, and I still kind of work with this on a daily basis, especially in my role, business etiquette is huge, manners and stuff like that. But I think the biggest thing for me to learn was that, while there are certain people that have really good titles like vice president and different titles like that, they're still human. I think I treated them completely different originally, and I was maybe overly polite, and sometimes it was yes ma'am, no ma'am, and they were like, it's really, Southern, I grew up in the South, so yes ma'am, no ma'am is the biggest thing. But I think the biggest thing for me was that, everyone, even with the titles, everyone is human. So don't stress out too much. I think a lot of people get overly nervous and internally like somewhat panic and freak out and don't realize that, you're going to see them probably on a daily basis, especially in our environment. So, being calm and not so anxious and nervous about stuff. That's, I think, the biggest thing for us.
Okay, thank you. I actually had an employer call me once and say, please have the students stop calling me Mr. Rosie. He has to start calling me by my first name, and I can't get him to understand that. Now, the young man had been employed for 3 months. So if somebody tells you to call them by their first name, then
Yes.
call them by their first name. Thank you. Thanks, Ashley, for bringing that up. Lauren,
Yes.
what are you?
Yeah, I think what Ashley said is kind of was building off where my head went, because I think that a lot of us have grown up, and you've been fortunate to be in a university as great as App, right? So you understand the pleasantries of what you're supposed to do on a basic level. I would encourage you, and I wish somebody maybe would have told me sooner. There's a ton of resources out there. You can read a lot. You can go to a local country club and ask them, can I sit down and learn about a formal table setting? Stuff that you don't think about because you haven't been in that setting. One thing that made me think when Ashley was talking is what you say matters. And just because you're at that lower end right now, it doesn't mean that speaking up is unprofessional or unpolished. Michelle just said, you're going to be learning for 10, 15 years. And if you're a really good professional, you're going to be learning your whole career, right? You never know everything. And sometimes people think etiquette as I need to be quiet. Oh, etiquette means I need to just sit here nice. That's not really what it means. It just means speaking up the right way, saying things in the right manner. If you're soft-spoken, remind yourself to speak up. So turn your volume up. If you're told that you're a little loud and boisterous, be mindful that you might need to turn it down. Don't shoot first, right? You're new to the game, kind of get your bearings, walk in somewhere and pick up on the language. Is it a little bit more informal where is it Mr. Rossi, or does he want to be called Dave, or whatever it may be? Pick up on those things and just make mental notes. I think being observant is huge when it comes to etiquette, because, you certainly don't want to go along with poor behavior, but you also don't want to go into a situation like Ashley was saying and be overly, seen as being overly polite or overly this. I would say know your audience, gauge your situation and your surroundings, and don't be afraid to pick off external resources like your local country club, literature, or mentors, whether they're at school or outside of school.
Thank you. Yeah, there's so much to learn. Amy, can you jump in there and give us your?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that Ashley and Lauren really, really said all of that very well. And I think that kind of another piece of that is you never know who you're going to meet, right? You never know when you're in your workspace, who's going to come in, and especially being a new employee or maybe even in the interview process, you don't know, or I guess maybe you kind of could now with LinkedIn and all of the social media, but you never know who you're going to meet, if that is that regional vice president or if it is, the GM of a company. And so I think it's always important to be mindful of having a great introduction for yourself and making sure that you are making your presence known in a very professional and positive way, especially as you are beginning in a new role, because it's all about your brand image. And your first impression with that person, I think, is going to be so lasting. I remember when I was interviewing for Enterprise, I was sitting in the waiting room forever ago, and this man came like running out of the back room and like through the lobby And like, I could obviously tell he was in a hurry. I had no idea who he was, but I like got up really quick and like opened the door for him. Come to find out he was the regional vice president. So the person responsible for like hiring me. And I was like, oh, glad I got up and opened the door for him. It may or may not have helped, but just kind of like those little things.
Yeah, and so hard. Looking back, you might recognize that opportunity that you missed. But yeah, so situational awareness is what they're all talking about, right, guys? And that's something I know you know how to do because I see it in classrooms when you're figuring out what this faculty member is or isn't going to do or expect out of you. So it's the same thing. I guess moving on to our second question, which you have answered some of. Students spend a great deal of time preparing for an interview, but once they land the job, they often wonder how to prepare to be professional in their new environment. I would ask, can you share with us some steps they should take prior to their first day? Now, Amy, you mentioned have a great intro ready. Absolutely. You know, we work with you all on 30-second and 60-second intros, but that one that you did in college is not the one that you're going to do in your young professional life. So that would be important. And Lauren, you mentioned getting some practice with local country clubs, perhaps parents, friends of your parents.
Yeah.
But what other pieces of advice could you ask or offer students on how they might get ready before they actually start in that first job? And whatever of our panelists.
Yeah, I would say people who are successful at our company tend to come early. I know that that's so generic, but coming early matters. I mean, even if your orientation's at 8 and you get there at 7:45 or 7:30, you know, people pick up on that. The way I like to think about it is, you know, you might be here and to Amy's point, that senior level, coworker may be here because that's their routine and you're going to be privy to information or they're going to ask you to do something. If you're hired with a large group of people, that's what's going to set you apart, right? Is being early, caring, being present and aware. We have here at our corporate office, for example, we get the Wall Street Journal delivered, right? It's just something that keeps everybody abreast of information. It's not anything that you're required to read, but you can ask to be a part of it, right? But you'd be surprised how many people don't take advantage of that, you know, and say, hey, I want to be put on the distribution of that. And that shows initiative. That shows that you care. And so I don't know how far that goes off from business etiquette because that's not the nuts and bolts of, I think, what we're talking about. But having that kind of first impression really matters. There's a, you know, your employer wants you to succeed. They want you to be the best. A great leader wants to surround themselves with people who are better than them. It's not, a good leader doesn't see it as a competition. So coming in and hitting a home run or raising your hand or saying, I want to get a part of this. I want to be here, and showing up early and staying late. It really does pay off for you to earn your stripes and move up in an organization and kind of set yourself apart from the rest of the group.
I agree with you, Lauren. You know, I was talking about that brand image and like that piece of being early is so important. And, you know, even thinking of like before an orientation, I know at Enterprise specifically, and I'm sure a lot of companies have onboarding documents that need to be completed or communication with talent acquisition managers or human resources managers, and just really the importance of being timely in that communication, being timely in completing that paperwork. As silly as it may sound, that's what's going to set you off on the right foot with getting to that orientation class and being early. And then, you know, whenever you are there, you know, making sure that you're dressed to impress, right? You're fresh, you're looking sharp, you have all of your required documents that are necessary, like, you know, for I know this is like kind of more HR technical, but like your I-9 information, any like certifications, transcripts, anything that you need with you, because that just makes you look so prepared and ready to start your new career. You know, you're also in a space typically on, you know, the new hire for like a new hire orientation or day one in your new location. You're in a place where you're able to interact with these upper levels of management. So you want to make sure that you're standing out too, and actively engaging and listening and conversing with those around you.
I think the biggest thing for us with our career path program is it's a 12-week planned, scheduled program. And we've actually had recent students that joined our company ask for like a day or two in advance what their schedule is going to be like for a little bit, to do a little bit of research on who they're going to be sitting with. So LinkedIn is a great resource to use to kind of get to know who you're going to be working with or kind of shadowing for the first little bit. They get a full schedule when they first get here, but just to kind of have like a heads up and a little bit of time to see who you're going to be sitting with and what that department even kind of entails, maybe coming in with a little bit of prior knowledge. It looks as if you're prepared greatly for the position, but it also just shows the initiative that, you know, you've gone far and beyond prior to coming in to kind of get an idea of what the expectation is going to be. And we have a lot of our career path trainees that reach out to our HR throughout that process, because that's where the program kind of reports to. And to ask more questions like, hey, I sat with sales and I got some great questions, but we kind of ran out of time. Can you schedule me to sit with them again, or maybe do lunch or something? I mean, a lot of our departments are super flexible with that, but just showing that initiative of I got enough time or I didn't get all my questions answered. So picking up on that, on something like that too.
Michelle, you're muted.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Which leads me to my next question, which is about cell phones in the workplace. It started to ring, so I shut it up, the volume on. Well, and I'll skip down to that one because I personally, as I teach classes here, and I know how frustrating it is to me to have students checking their cell phone while I'm talking to them. I think that cell phones are such a part of everybody's life. What's professional etiquette around personal cell phones at work? And I understand, I'm going to stop for a minute and say this. It can be different in every different corporate culture.
Absolutely.
Students. So as you hear from these different employers, you might get different answers, and that's cool. It's good for you to know there might be different situations. So go, who wants to pick that one first?
I can go.
Okay.
So cell phones aren't, I wouldn't say frowned upon, having them at our desk and stuff like that, because a lot of people use them. And now that we work from home, the telephone system that rolls over to our cell phone, and there are some days where we all forget to roll those over to our desk line. I would say just be mindful. If you're supposed to, specifically for us, if you're shadowing someone in a certain department and they are teaching you about the position that they have and how it works within the company, not having it out. There are definitely times throughout the day, bathroom breaks, break room time to go get water, coffee, whatever, lunch, different things like that. But just be mindful. If you're sitting with someone and they're teaching you something, it shows that you're uninterested and you're not engaged at all. And at that point, it can roll over and you don't know who they're going to talk to. It's definitely, well, I had John during my 9 to 10 time frame, and he was on his cell phone 2 different times when I looked up showing him stuff. And eventually it gets up to not only HR, which is who they kind of report to, but it also gets to everyone else. So then it shows the not engaged side of things.
Yeah, I can agree. So in my industry with enterprise, we're doing a lot of things in the branches. We have a lot of moving parts. So cell phones are absolutely helpful for our business, right? Because we may send our auto detailer or our driver to go pick up a customer from a location. Well, obviously we need to have communication. We're going to use our cell phones to be able to communicate back and forth. Or maybe your area manager might call you to ask about, your vehicle availability. Do you need to add more cars to your fleet? So that, our cell phone is really an extension of our communication, but there are, times I'm sure where people get personal calls, right? And so I would say those personal calls and, or those personal text messages, they shouldn't interfere with your work and time when you're at work, because there are times like your lunch break or, your just 15-minute break, whatever it may be for you to maybe take that call. But also we have trainings and we have classroom style trainings where, it's not professional to have your cell phone out, and you shouldn't be looking at it because they're really, you know, you're in a classroom setting where we're teaching you, and there shouldn't really be any reason for you to have your phone out, of course, you know, unless it's an emergency and you let the and you let the, you know, the person know ahead of time. But that would be kind of the only time in our industry where we would feel like it would be kind of raising an eyebrow for somebody to be looking at their phone while they're in a training class, because that would show that they're not interested or they're not engaged in the business, and then could further lead to, well, you know, I'm kind of concerned with the fact, like, do they want to be here? Do they want to still work for Enterprise? Do they want to be in the management training program? Because they don't seem very interested.
Yeah, we, you know, it's different. So there's jobs that you roll into here where you have a work phone and then you have your personal. So there's some times where if you have your phone out, it's your work phone. Like, that's an extension of your job. And when you get hired on, you may have one. That to me is more, you want that out, because as Amy and Ashley said, that could be the form of communication that the company is directing you to use. That's a separate bucket. Don't get so granular with your thought and think, oh, well, they gave me this phone. I think it's more about your personal phone, you know, like whatever Ashley and Amy are saying. It's like, we're investing in you, right? We're taking time out of our days because we see something in you to join our team. And we're also clearly passionate about what we do and who we work for. And when you get somebody on your team who just appears to be elsewhere, it's like, well, then don't be here, because I could probably find somebody else who wants to be here and cares. And then furthermore, just some etiquette, a tip is, you know, a lot of you might roll to remote work, right, in your first job. That may be the reality that we're still in upon your graduation. Be mindful of your ringtone. You know, you might be on the phone and it's a work phone, but your personal phone might ring in the background. And I've heard, I mean, talk about a funny story. I was on the phone with somebody who worked at a branch and her personal phone rang, and it was, I don't know if y'all know this song, Genuine Pony. And I was like, ma'am, like, I don't want customers calling, hearing that song in the background. Like, and I'm not there, right? I'm not there. I happen to have her on the phone. So I said, Amber, you've got to put that on mute. Like, you've got to. And she was like, oh my gosh, I forgot. But just being that situational awareness, right? You might not be in the office, but people can hear you. Ashley's dog earlier was barking, right? That's the reality. And so just be mindful of that. You don't want Genuine Pony playing in the background and your first impression being that. I mean, that's, to me, mortifying.
Yeah, and there's only one time to make a first impression.
Yes.
Lauren hit it on the head there. But I would also say this, as a young professional starting out, other seasoned professionals expect you to make some mistakes. And they're going to give you cues and correction, and that's cool. It's when you keep doing it that it becomes an issue.
That's funny you say that. I actually wrote comes with time. Like, you're gonna mess up. You're gonna say, I wish I would have said that. But that's just part of it. And that's when it becomes your memory. And hopefully you have people surrounded around you who care about your professional development. And they point it out, and it's meant to be constructive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got questions coming in the chat, which I think I'm going to dive right into and go off my list of questions. The first one is, can you speak a little on the ways to show proper etiquette on a Zoom interview? Should you show up early in a Zoom interview for an employer? Like, we had students who were here at the very beginning, right when you guys were here. Is that appropriate? Anything else you want to point out about Zoom for them? Because many of them will be doing those interviews in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. So I do a lot of virtual interviewing, and it is the new way, right? But I think that everybody uses maybe a little bit different of a platform. So for example, I use Microsoft Teams, whereas a lot of people are familiar with Zoom. So sometimes it can take someone a little bit of time to download the Teams app or make sure that they're connected properly. So I recommend, 15 minutes prior to their interview, downloading the app and making sure that everything, their sound's working, their camera's working. Then that way, they can hang out in the wait room until it's time for the interview to start, or until I come into, even if I come in a few minutes early, maybe I'm running a little ahead of schedule, and we can just go ahead and get the interview started ahead of time. So I think that is step one. Step two is, even though it's a virtual interview, doesn't mean that your attire dictates the or should, I guess, be reflective of the fact that it's virtual, right? When it's in person, I think that our candidates would come in and be dressed a little bit more business professional, versus on a virtual interview. I think that their guard is down a little bit, so they think it's more of a casual interview. However, you know, you're dressing for the job that you want, and this is the first impression, and so it's important to make sure that you're reading all of the notes in the interview invitation. So for me specifically, one of the notes say, you know, the dress is business professional, so make sure you do come, you know, in your business suit, looking, you know, ready to impress. Make sure that your resume is updated and that it's fresh as well. So those are some things that I've noticed that I don't think sometimes people just aren't really reading all the instructions as well as they probably should. And then making sure that your background space is clear and that it's not, you know, that you don't have a bunch of stuff happening in the background, or that it, you know, that it's not messy in the background too. I know that a lot of us are working from home, or we're, you know, maybe we have a roommate and we can't control necessarily their lifestyle, but we have to make sure that for the interview, it looks very, very professional.
Anything else to add, Lauren, Ashley?
Yeah, I would just add, you know, like Amy said, just be aware of what's happening around you, and you know, don't be so upfront. You know, if you were in person, you'd be a table length away from somebody, right? Like, you don't have to be on top of them. I think, you know, being able to show, I mean, I'm clearly a hands talker, but you know, the animation and that you care and you're engaged, because you can't pick up on that stuff sometimes. It might be hard. And then what Amy was saying, you know, we use Microsoft Teams as well. But there might be times where I get an invitation for Zoom or Skype or whatever you may have. Or I might send an invitation to somebody and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. I didn't realize my Teams was not up to date, or I didn't realize this was up to date. You're going to get these invitations to interview prior to. You should have time and the wherewithal to say, let me test this. You know, all of those platforms I just mentioned have the capabilities. I think that builds on what we talked about before with the preparation and setting yourself apart from the rest and digging deeper, if you will. You know, go on there and check it. It's something I'll never know you did, but you'll be happy you did it, because if it wasn't updated, the employer is going to be waiting for you. And nothing makes me more mad than when I have to wait for somebody and their first impression is I'm waiting. It's not that my time is any better than anybody else's, but I set time apart for you, and you should do your part and show up on time or be early.
I think the attire thing is the biggest thing for me. We are not doing virtual interviews at this point now, but we were for a brief moment. And I had a whole lot of people surprisingly show up very unprepared. T-shirts. I had one gentleman that did not have a shirt on at all.
Stop it.
So when I say, I don't care what the background looks like nearly as much as I just want you to come prepared and dressed.
You need to add that to your book. That's
I don't know that I don't expect you to wear a jacket and a suit and all that stuff. You don't have to do that in person for us, but prepared. Just be mindful that it's an interview, even though it's in your home. Mindful of an interview.
I don't expect you to wear a jacket, but I expect you to wear a shirt.
Yeah, definitely expect you to wear a shirt. You don't have to wear a jacket, you don't have to wear a tie, but to cover yourself would be awesome.
I could have done it. I don't think I could have
Sounds
done
like
it.
online dating gone bad.
Oh my gosh, maybe that's what they thought they were doing.
I was extremely embarrassed, and he had no issues. Like, rolled on like it was a normal, natural thing. It was
I can't.
extremely
Well, it was for him. And let me stop and say, guess what, students? There are the appropriate cultures for everyone. So that
Yes.
man or young man was giving off what kind of culture he was looking for. And clearly it wouldn't have been found here with these three employers. So I'm not sure that there would be employers at the College of Business that would be looking for that, but who knows? Thank you, ladies. I'm going to go on to my next one. Directly going off the topic of backgrounds, I had an interview and the employer mentioned that because my background was blank, it made them uncomfortable. how are we supposed to respond to a situation like that? That's from Alyssa. Alyssa, like for me, I want to know a little bit more about what you mean about background was blank. Do you ladies need to know that too, or is that just me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Alyssa,
as
So-
to-
go ahead.
So I interviewed exactly where I am right now. And the first thing before we said anything else, I got into the meeting and he was already there. And like the first thing he said was, "Where's all your artwork? Like, do you not like decorating your house?" And I was shocked because I have always been taught to have a blank background so it's not distracting. So I didn't know how to handle that situation.
I would have handled it just like you just told us. I would have said, first and foremost, I don't think I'm interviewing for an art director job, sir. So no, I'm just kidding. Don't say that. I just would have said that. I would have, I just would have said that. I would have said, in previous experience, I've been taught that it may be seen as distracting in an interview of this manner. And I see what you're saying. It may be seen as distracting because it's blank. But this is what I chose to work with. Is this going to be a problem? I mean, I would just hit it head on like you just answered it and just add. I mean, that's.
And let me just say, there is nothing wrong with your background right now. I
No.
appreciate that. It's clean. It's not distracting. Yes.
I mean, I'm stuck at home today, and I have all kinds of artwork, but I chose a blank background to not be distracting.
Yeah.
A messy bed in the background is extremely distracting to me. A piece of artwork is not. But I would rather it just be plain.
Yeah.
I think that was an anomaly is what we're trying to say. Good
Yeah,
question, but I think that was an anomaly.
They were having a bad day, and they needed to take on something.
All right.
They had a very bad day. That was a horrible interview, just to say.
But now it'll set apart the good ones, right? Like
Yes,
now
absolutely.
you'll know. That's how
And
we
really
feel
go
when
up
we
from
interview.
there.
Yeah.
And I want to remind students, you are shopping an employer like an employer is shopping you. They want you to be in a
Absolutely.
culture you're comfortable in.
Yes.
So if in their culture, something's appropriate that doesn't feel good to you, that's somebody to steer away from.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to the next question because we're getting some great ones and I want to make sure we get to all of them. Is it appropriate to add coworkers on social media sites? That's a great question for somebody new at a company, right? Because you come in
Mhm.
great guns and then you find out, ooh, that wasn't so cool or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So I'll go if you guys are okay with it. So at Enterprise, we work together. We work a lot of hours together, and you just naturally and organically become friends with the people that you work with. And that is a wonderful thing because you're working with people that you like and that you enjoy being around and you're having fun. And, you establish a work relationship and then a friend relationship. And so I think that it can be okay to add people on social media, but on the flip side of that, you have to remember that your social media is the window into you, and it may not be you today. It may have been you 5 years ago. It may have been the college you that now you're the professional you, and so you can't get rid of that. So I guess essentially what I'm saying is, if you have somebody that you work with and you guys become friends and you want to add them on social media, you have to remember all of those different things that you've posted on there, right? So tailgating at football games or Saturday nights being out, doing karaoke or whatever, whatever you want to be vulnerable to is going to be on there. And furthermore, you never know who else might see that, right? So even though it's your friend, they could also have been with their company for a while and they're best friends with your manager, and then they show your manager. So be mindful of it.
I'm a little more old school. I don't have any social media, so it's hard for me to speak on it because I shut it down when I was in college many moons ago, just honestly, just to try it, and I never got it back. So I don't have it. I don't look at other people because I don't have the tools, right? Like I don't have Facebook, so I can't go on Facebook and type somebody's name in. And I don't type like this. This is just when I say I type, that's what I do. But I don't type people's names in and I can't see stuff. But I will say people, what Amy just said, have come up to me and they're like, look at this. look at this. And so it might not be somebody who has it, right? But it is getting circulated. So be mindful. I would say if you're prospecting companies to work for, comb through your social media with the eyes of an employer and just look at it. Make it private. You can be you, be yourself. That's who you are. Just be mindful of it. And if you posted it, be able to speak on it. Or if somebody has differing views, you posted it and put it on the world. So just be prepared. I'm more safe. I would just rather not have it. But in this day and age, that's not really an option. But that's just my opinion. I'm more on the no side, but.
Yeah, so I have partial social media. I do not have Facebook. And we've actually had issues in HR. I am on the talent acquisition side, so I'm not on the compliance side, but I am in that department. So I hear a lot of stuff of somebody posting something on their Facebook and it offending someone that they work with, even though it was essentially posted after hours and not during working hours. And it just gets really sticky, especially now that, you can offend someone and not intentionally offend someone and not be mindful of, how they could take it as opposed to how you took it. And so we've had some issues with that. I, again, stay clear on Facebook, and my Instagram is full of my child and my dog. So there's not really much you can see there, but I would say just to be mindful. I'm kind of on the fence with that one. Definitely something you can get yourself into a sticky situation that it's hard to get out of.
But really, if I were to summarize that, I'd say don't do it for quite a bit of time, because you might as well err on that side than the side of making a mistake. Is that fair, ladies?
Well, and I think Facebook, so I got rid of my Facebook right after college. I got rid of that one and got a new one to be more professional, because Facebook was still fairly new. God, I'm telling my age. But anyways, still fairly new. And a lot of companies were checking accounts to see what they could see. And I didn't, getting into the real world and getting a job, I didn't want everyone to see my Friday and Saturday, like Amy said. So I completely deactivated that one and got another one, and then just decided that, and I was like, yeah, I don't really want it anymore. So.
I'm going to ask one more, because we only have 3 minutes, but I think it's a quick one and an important one. If we have a virtual interview and our only interview space available is a bedroom, which could definitely happen in a dorm room, or if you want a quiet space in the house, would it be better to have a filler picture or a background than let my bedroom be the background?
Either or. I think what everyone's point is, don't make it your background of your messy bed and your laundry piling up. And if that is the only option you have, do background. Like Amy has one on now, and it's super cool. And Veronica, I think, had one on. I saw her screen earlier and she had a background. So, you could easily do that if you're worried.
I agree. I think if you're gonna have it in the background, make sure it's a clean space. But if you don't have time to clean it and you've had a busy week and you're getting ready to get on, put a background up.
Yeah.
I'll agree. All right, I'm going to wrap up. I hate to, because I know there's so many things I'd like you guys to talk about, like if you have a cubicle, personal items in your cubicle, all that kind of good stuff. But that'll be the next time. Students, Hannah actually had to jump off because she had another session to help mediate. She did the random drawing, and Allison Eller and Sydney Glasscock were the people that she picked. So randomly with her random name generator. So if you two would message I hate to put it in your everyone group. How about if you message me and send me your mailing address? Amy, I see you gave me a tiny URL. What does that tell everyone?
I did. So I would love to be able to connect with each of you that have attended the session today. So I didn't mean to interrupt you while you.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
Throwing it in there. But please click the link and enter your name, your email, your phone number, your major. And I would love to stay in touch with you this week. I know it's Career Fair Connect Week with College of Business. So any opportunity that we have to stay in touch is just really great.
And then Lauren and Ashley, are there a way, I know you guys are listed on Handshake. Your opportunities are listed on our Handshake system, right?
Yes.
Want those? The students
I can post. I'll put my LinkedIn on here.
Okay.
Probably the easiest way.
Okay.
To get in touch with me, or I can put my email. Either way, it doesn't really matter to me.
Why don't you put your LinkedIn? That would be great.
Okay, I will do that right now.
Yeah, my LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me. That's what I'm on all the time. And then one final note I wanted to make, and we didn't really talk on this, but really quick, because I think it's important. If any of your careers ever deal, and this is going very broad, but ever deal with etiquette outside of the United States, be mindful of differences. And I have a couple books, and I pulled this book. I would encourage you guys, if any of your careers get you into international discussions, when you're doing anything, just be mindful, handshakes mean different things in different countries. We put on a class for our younger management trainees, because some of our procurement group deals with people outside the United States. And I don't know where your careers are going, but just be mindful. Cultural differences is something that I think is really important with business etiquette.
Absolutely.
That's a great point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And something that you'll be learning for the rest of your
And I
life.
guess
All right, I've got everybody, students, you see links from our employers there.
I got to figure out how to do this. I clearly cannot.
Are you listed, but is your position listed?
Yeah, you can look me up by my name.
Okay, all right.
Clearly not good on the technology front.
So employers, I know stopping and taking an hour of your time out in the middle of a business day is not always the easiest thing to do, but just given the number of students and the number that stuck with us the whole time, you're clearly hitting stuff that is important to them. We can't thank you enough. I will be in touch via email with those of you who have students to send gifts to. Thank you for donating to that too. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, have a good day, folks, and students, participate the rest of this week.
Yeah, have a great week.
Yeah, you
Yes.
guys have a good week.
Great to see you all today. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.